You probably know him as a former lieutenant governor and very successful mayor who turned a desperate city into one of Ohio's crown jewels. But there's a lot more to George Voinovich you probably didn't know. He's a man of Ohio roots, Ohio values, and Ohio experience. A man whose life has been marked more than anything else by hard work, leadership, and excellence. On July 15, 1936, George and Josephine Voinovich were presented with their first child. The offspring of Eastern European immigrants, they named their first of 6 children after his father and grandfather. And George Victor Voinovich was born to Ohio. George Voinovich got a taste of Ohio values at a very early age in the Cullenwood section of Cleveland, a blue-collar ethnic neighborhood. Here at age 8, he first worked delivering his hometown newspaper door to door on the streets for the old Cleveland News. George was a boy of enormous energy. In high school, he was president of the Key Club, president of his class, and selected most likely to succeed. George broadened his Ohio experiences at Ohio University in Athens. As a Bobcat, he majored in government. Once again, important leadership traits, which would carry him into public office, became quickly apparent at OU. He was elected president of the Student Council, honored as one of 11 outstanding members of his junior class, and tapped for the top National Leadership Scholarship fraternity. George paid for most of his schooling, working summers as a construction worker, where he joined local 310 hod carriers and laborers. From OU, George became a Buckeye and entered the Ohio State University College of Law in Columbus. Here, he was elected president of the law school Young Republicans, and again, president of his graduating class. George's roots and family values were born in his old Cullenwood neighborhood. So it was only natural that after passing the Ohio bar, George started his own law practice there, upstairs above a laundromat, and across the street from the Salvation Army thrift store. Just as he was beginning his professional career in 1962, George met and married his lifetime partner of 27 years, Janet, of Lakewood, Ohio.
I met George when we were both in the Greater Cleveland Young Republican Club, and we met in the backyard of a home where a rally was being put together for a man who was running for mayor of Cleveland. He was a law school student, and I was a young working girl. And as he likes to tell people always, that I was passing out cookies and he was blowing up balloons, and we've been doing that ever since.
They settled into a rented apartment near George's neighborhood law practice. In true Voinovich style, it didn't take long for his reputation to spread. He was appointed Assistant Attorney General for Ohio's Workers' Comp Division, the beginning of his career in public service. In 1966, George achieved his first of 10 election victories, winning his first of 3 terms in the Ohio House of Representatives. As a young legislator, he quickly made a mark, sponsoring and co-sponsoring over 85 bills that became law. During this same period, he was named by the JCs one of the 5 outstanding young men in Ohio. Always focused on family and the foundation Ohio senior citizens have given our state, George Voinovich was the father of Ohio's homestead exemption provision, a hallmark amendment to Ohio's Constitution, providing permanent property tax relief to our senior citizens, a law that stands today.
I think the most important thing that impacted me is my grandfather. As you know, my grandfather came here from Europe, and he was a real entrepreneur. He and my grandmother met each other when they came here. She was a seamstress, and he was a blacksmith. But the two of them saved their money, and they built a building, and they lived above it and had a grocery store downstairs. My grandfather, every day, put money aside for his taxes. Every single day, he put them aside in an envelope. And I realized, particularly when he was in his late 70s, what a tremendous burden those real estate taxes were on him, because at that time his income, the supermarkets came in, and if it wasn't for Grandpa's meat business, he wouldn't have stayed in business. And he had to stay in business because they had no retirement.
An avid fisherman and outdoorsman, George was a pioneer in protecting Ohio's air and water. He stopped gas and oil drilling in Lake Erie and helped create Ohio's Environmental Protection Agency. In 1971, at age 35, George Voinovich became Cuyahoga County Auditor. Working with his fellow county auditors, he led a statewide fight to stop automatic increases in Ohio property taxes by passing House Bill 920, saving Ohioans hundreds of millions of dollars ever since. When you combine Ohio's homestead law and House Bill 920, there's no one in Ohio who's done more to soften the state's real estate tax burden. As Americans celebrated their bicentennial, George Voinovich led his own revolution, ending 44 years of one-party control by being elected a Cuyahoga County Commissioner. He forced the county to run more efficiently and do more with less, a claim very few politicians can make. George's leadership, problem-solving, and vote-getting ability caught the eye of state Republican leaders. And in 1978, Governor Jim Rhodes asked George Voinovich to run as his lieutenant governor. George was credited with helping bring the Rhodes-Voinovich ticket across the finish line to victory, the last time Republicans won the top spots statewide in Ohio. George became an active member of the governor's cabinet in Columbus as lieutenant governor, and he launched Ohio's State and Local Government Commission. In 1979, tragedy struck the Voinovich family. The youngest of George and Janet's 4 children, 9-year-old Molly, was killed by a reckless driver who ran a red light on a neighborhood street. Family was always the #1 priority of George Voinovich, but the loss of little Molly brought them even closer together. To this day, most Sundays are kept open for the Voinovich family to spend together.
As busy as he's always been, the kids were always #1. And whenever there was a problem, and it remains that way today, they can talk to their dad. We'll drop everything, you know, to work with the kids.
1979 was also the year that Cleveland plunged into financial crisis, the first American city to default since the Depression. After much soul-searching, George and Janet decided that the right thing to do was to step down as lieutenant governor and run for mayor of Cleveland.
Cleveland was intensive care, very close to death. And my feeling was that with the great resources that we had in the Cleveland community, there wasn't any reason why we couldn't come back and be an Ohio asset.
What followed is the stuff success stories are made of. After a big victory, George Voinovich rolled up his sleeves and went to work creating numerous public-private partnerships. He put together a group that for 11 weeks pored over Cleveland's so-called unauditable books. Their finding? The city was $111 million in debt. George convinced the 22 city employee unions to delay pay increases. He asked the citizens to make sacrifices and to stick with him. Delivering on his campaign theme of "Together we can do it," he formed a task force of local business and civic leaders. This group combed the 63 city divisions looking for ways to operate more efficiently. As Fortune magazine said, the Voinovich Task Force recommendations resulted in savings of $200 million. Now with the city's economy booming, on June 25, 1987, just 7.5 years after George Voinovich took office, a debt-burning ceremony was held at City Hall. And in true Voinovich style, George gave others the credit for the success. Today, services have vastly improved. The city is operating with $55 million less federal dollars than in 1979. Expenditures have been held below the rate of inflation. City workers are motivated, working harder and smarter, doing more with less. Cleveland has become America's comeback city, an Ohio asset. His success was recognized by George Voinovich's peers from across the nation. They elected him president of the National League of Cities. Under Voinovich, Cleveland received the prestigious All-American City Award, and unprecedented 3 times. In a national article titled Hot Managers Sizzling Cities, Business Month called Cleveland the miracle on the Cuyahoga. George Voinovich is living proof that even the most battered city can come back from the grave. Today, George Voinovich is ready, more prepared than any man in Ohio history, to lead our state out of the mismanagement and mediocrity of the last 8 years. George Voinovich will inspire pride and motivate Ohio's 62,000 employees. A down-to-earth, decent man with unmatched problem-solving skills, he's the right man at the right time to lead Ohio into the future. He's honest, he's never broken the public trust, he has vision. He wants to put Ohio back on the map with new jobs, an exploding economy, a drug-free growing population, the best schools, a clean environment, and the best possible quality of life. The next governor of Ohio, George Voinovich.
Hello, I'm George Voinovich. As far as I'm concerned, this election is about making Ohio the best state in the nation. That's why I'm so pleased and frankly proud that Congressman Mike DeWine has agreed to be my full partner to restore excellence once again. Simply put, Mike DeWine is Ohio's very best. Our state couldn't have a better lieutenant governor. He's aggressive, he's a fighter, and in a relatively short period of time in Congress, he's already made a major impact. We offer the people of Ohio an unprecedented, unique blend of experience and leadership. Taken together, Mike DeWine and I have a combined public service record of 39 years at the city, county, state, and federal levels. As a United States Congressman for 7 years, Mike DeWine has quickly earned a reputation as a rising star. Recently, Mike was singled out to serve on President Bush's National Commission on Drug-Free Schools. In just 2 brief years in the Ohio Senate, Mike made a substantial impact. He wrote and pushed through 2 of Ohio's most important laws, one to crack down on drunk drivers, the other to require mandatory sentences for violent and repeat offenders. Mike began his public career as a Greene County prosecutor, where he was known as a tough, no-nonsense crime fighter. He sharply reduced plea bargains, put criminals behind bars where they belong, and convicted an incredible 95% of the drug traffickers he took on. Mike DeWine is the embodiment of traditional Ohio values. It's no surprise he springs from one of Ohio's richest rural valleys. He was born in Greene County, where the family enterprise, the DeWine Seed Company, flourished, serving the Ohio farm community and families for 3 generations. Hard work is in Mike's blood. As a youngster, he worked the fields of seed grain, hand-pulling weeds. Most of all, Mike DeWine is a family man. And what a family. Mike married his high school sweetheart, Fran. They share our Ohio roots, our Ohio values. With 7 wonderful children, it's easy to see why Mike and Fran care about Ohio's future. Mike DeWine is qualified to be governor in his own right. That's why I want him by my side. With his outstanding background, I've asked Mike, as lieutenant governor, to head the war on drugs and crime. Together and with your help, we can build the best Ohio with new jobs and a growing state economy, where state government is efficient with no need for more taxes. And we can build an Ohio where our schools are the absolute best in the nation. And we can build an Ohio where we guarantee a clean, healthy environment. And we can build an Ohio where our state government is well managed and scandal-free. Our vision for Ohio is excellence by working together. Please join Mike DeWine and me so that together we can make our vision for Ohio a reality. Thank you.
George Voinovich, and Mike DeWine, working together for Ohio excellence.